71% of our planet is ocean, but we've only explored 5% of it. Can you believe that? There's so much out there we haven't even seen yet, and honestly, we can't even imagine the crazy, beautiful secrets hiding beneath the waves. In this video, we're diving into some of the most shocking and mind-blowing underwater places on Earth. Number 16. The Odyssey Treasure. On May 12, 2007, a cargo plane departed from Gibraltar Airport to Florida, carrying on board 550 plastic containers with 17 tons of silver coins. It turned out the cargo belonged to the American company Odyssey Marine Exploration, which specializes in the search for sunken treasures. The origin of the coins, worth more than $500 million, remained unknown. Representatives of Odyssey kept the exact shipwreck they found, the treasure, in a secret for a long time. However, after some time, this information was revealed. Odyssey's first successful treasure hunt occurred in 2003, when they managed to retrieve treasures from the sunken steamship Republic worth over $75 million. In 2006, Odyssey embarked on a new project called Black Swan. As it turned out later, their target was the Spanish ship Nuestra Señora de las Mercedes, which sank during the Battle of Cape Santa Maria in 1804. The company thoroughly studied archives with information about the ship, allowing them to locate the shipwreck and lift 17 tons of silver coins from the bottom. This discovery was simply incredible, which is why Odyssey's representatives refrained from announcing that they had found the Nuestra Señora de las Mercedes for a long time. Fortunately, Spanish authorities quickly responded to the situation and filed a lawsuit in the Florida court, demanding the return of the illegally acquired treasures to Spain. Spain, of course, won the case, and the coins were sent back home. The treasures of the sunken ship are now kept in a museum in Madrid. In addition to returning the treasure, the Odyssey team also had to pay a $1 million fine for violating the integrity of the historical heritage. Number 15. The Giant Squid Encounter. Today, almost no one believes in the existence of monsters capable of dragging away huge ships. However, in the past, sailors had legends that in the ocean and sea depths, there lie massive, ruthless creatures resembling octopuses. Over time, these legends were forgotten, but a few years ago people remembered the monstrous octopuses again. The reason was an interesting incident in the Pacific Ocean when several fishermen went far off the coast on their boat. They noticed something very large in the water. An instant later, a gigantic squid appeared before them. The creature was about to cover the boat with its massive body, but for some unknown reason, it changed its mind and dived deep underwater. The stunned fishermen hurried to the shore and told others about what had happened, but they couldn't provide any evidence. What do you think? Was it really a monster? Or did the fishermen just get scared of some little-known marine inhabitant? Leave your comments below. Number 14. The Wreck of the Titanic. The Titanic was the largest passenger liner of the early 20th century. It was built by the British company White Star Line in 1911. Its width was over 28 meters, with a length of 269 meters. The liner had everything for a comfortable journey: a swimming pool, a restaurant and cafe, dining and smoking lounges, and much more. It seemed that nothing could hinder its safe voyage from Southampton to New York. On April 10, 1912, the Titanic embarked on its first and only voyage with 1317 passengers and 908 crew members. On April 14 at 11:39 p.m., the ship's captain was alerted about an iceberg directly in the vessel's path. However, it was noticed too late, and less than a minute later, a collision occurred, causing the Titanic to start sinking. The ship had only 20 lifeboats on board, and women and children were given priority. At 2:20 a.m., the Titanic broke into two parts, plunging 1,496 souls into the icy water. Only 712 people survived and were rescued by the ship Carpathia. Currently, the wreckage of the legendary liner lies at an astonishing depth of 3,750 meters. In May 2023, the company Magellan Latin commenced a large-scale project to research the debris with the latest technology. They managed to scan it, producing over 500,000 images from various angles. The project's main aim is to clarify the reason for the Titanic sinking, and perhaps soon, we might learn more about how this terrible tragedy truly unfolded. Number 13. The Oarfish. The oarfish is one of the amazing and lesser-studied inhabitants of the ocean depths. Previously, humans rarely encountered them near the coast, but not long ago, divers even managed to take photos with this giant. Oarfish are considered the largest bony fish among all known species. The largest individuals can reach up to 7 meters in length, although their average body length is about 3 meters. Their entire body is covered with tiny silver scales. Their head is adorned with a bright red crest, and their back has tufts of the same color. These fish primarily inhabit tropical, subtropical, and temperate regions. They are deep-sea dwellers, typically living at depths ranging from 200 to 1,000 meters. Imagine swimming in that cold, sunless realm where pressure crushes most other life, yet this serpentine giant glides effortlessly, its ribbon-like body undulating like a living wave of liquid mercury. Then without warning, a storm churns the depths, and a sick or disoriented oarfish begins its slow, helpless ascent toward the surface, its bright crimson crest glowing like a warning torch against the fading darkness. When it finally breaks the surface, gasping and weak, the silver scales catch the sunlight for the first time in years, flashing like scattered mirrors across the water. Fishermen who spot it often recoil in awe, mistaking its lengthy, writhing form for a sea serpent from ancient legends, and they whisper prayers as they watch it drift closer to shore. Onlookers gather on the beach, phones raised, torn between terror and wonder, because this creature does not belong to their world, it belongs to the abyss, and its arrival feels like a message from below. Only sick individuals might appear at the surface after severe storms. They are sometimes washed ashore. The fish mainly feed on small crustaceans and plankton, but occasionally they feast on small fish and squid. Interestingly, some cultures consider them to be harbingers of earthquakes. Of course, scientists debunk these notions, but people believe that an oarfish appearing on the water's surface symbolizes an impending natural disaster. Conversely, tourists consider an encounter with this unusual deep-sea inhabitant to be very fortunate. Number 12. The Silfra Fissure, Iceland. If you've ever dreamed of being on two continents at once, there's a unique place in Iceland waiting for you called the Silfra Fissure. This crack, formed by the shifting of the Eurasian and North American tectonic plates, sits right between America and Europe. This Icelandic attraction is very popular among diving tourists. The fissure reaches a maximum depth of 63 meters, and at its narrowest points, you can touch both America and Europe simultaneously with your hands. The Silfra Fissure was formed due to an earthquake in the Thingvallavatn Valley. The crack split the bottom of the lake bearing the valley's name, forming a gorge of incredible beauty. The Icelandic fissure is not the only one on our planet, but it's unique, and it's not just about touching two continents. The water here is crystal clear. Visibility exceeds 100 meters. When viewed from above, one can fully see the contours and the bottom of the fissure. The secret to such purity lies primarily in the natural filtration of the water. The lake is replenished by meltwater from a glacier located 50 kilometers away. During its journey, the water stream passes through porous underground lava. Just imagine, this process takes between 30 to 50 years. Perhaps you won't find cleaner water anywhere on Earth. The water in the Icelandic crack is very cold, ranging from +2 to +4 degrees Celsius. However, this doesn't deter divers eager to explore this unique location on our planet. Now it's time for today's topic. An offshore maintenance diver inspecting an aging oil platform near the North Rankin gas field off Western Australia descended, expecting nothing more than routine corrosion checks. While swimming beneath the support structure, his helmet camera captured a colossal shadow emerging silently from the darkness beyond the steel columns. In July 2026, the footage was reviewed by engineers and marine biologists after the diver abruptly aborted the inspection and refused to re-enter the water. He reported the silhouette remained completely motionless until his light swept across it, when it slowly shifted position without producing any visible wake. Frame-by-frame analysis revealed a body outline unlike any documented shark, whale, or known deep-sea fish inhabiting the region. The maintenance operation was suspended while remotely operated vehicles searched the surrounding seabed, but nothing was found. Despite extensive analysis, investigators never identified the mysterious shape, and the diver permanently retired from offshore work soon afterward. Number 11. World War II aircraft discovered in Micronesia. In April 2018, 3 U.S. Air Force planes shot down by the Japanese Army during World War II were discovered in Micronesia. Among them were 2 SBD-5 Dauntless dive bombers and 1 TBM-1 Avenger torpedo bomber. In February 1944, these military aircraft participated in Operation Hailstone. Their target was the Truk Lagoon, one of the most powerful Japanese naval bases in the Pacific Ocean. During the operation, the Americans destroyed over 200 Japanese aircraft and about 50 warships. However, there were losses on the American side as well. Imagine the roar of those engines as they screamed low over the lagoon, dodging flak and tracer fire, with the blue water below churning from exploding depth charges. The Dauntlesses plunged steeply toward enemy ships, their dive brakes howling, while the Avenger lumbered through the smoke, carrying its heavy torpedo like a deadly secret. When the Japanese gunners found their mark, each stricken American plane spiraled downward in a trail of black smoke, hitting the water with a violence that sent shockwaves through the coral reefs. For 74 years those wrecks rested in silence, their aluminum skins slowly encrusting with sponges and barnacles, while propeller blades stayed frozen in twisted angles of defeat. Schools of tropical fish darted through shattered cockpits, and eels made homes inside rusted gun barrels, as if the ocean had turned these war machines into haunting artificial reefs. The Recovery Project organization was involved in the search for remains of those reported missing during World War II. Their mission involved extensive research on the floor of the Pacific Ocean. During this project, the 3 aircraft were located. Preliminary data suggested that the remains of the deceased soldiers were inside these planes. However, after further examination, no information regarding this was provided. Number 10. The Bimini Road. On the Bimini Island of Bimini lies a true paradise on Earth, the Paradise Point Resort. Less than 500 meters from here, at a depth of 3 to 9 meters, lies a geological wonder known as the Bimini Road. This structure resembles a path laid out with stones. It stretches for 500 meters and is up to 90 meters wide. From the main road, a branch deviates resembling the English letter J. Moreover, mysterious platforms in concentric circles were also discovered here. The discovery of the Bimini Road is credited to an American pilot in 1968. While flying home from a vacation in the Bahamas, he noticed something unusual underwater. Subsequent underwater excavations were initiated under the guidance of archaeologists Mason Valentine, Jacques Mayol, and Robert Angrove. During the research, besides the stone masonry, the ruins of a temple were found. Initial analysis of the stones indicated they were approximately 9 to 10,000 years old, comparable to the era of the mysterious island of Atlantis. One might think that the existence of Atlantis, submerged by the sea, was proven. However, further research into the slabs plunged scientists into even greater confusion. Their age turned out to be much older than originally assumed, around 28,000 years. So at the moment, it remains unknown which advanced civilization once existed here. Local residents have their own legend about this. They believe that the Bimini Road is a sacred place where gods themselves set foot. It's here that they bestow blessings on humans. Number 9. The largest underwater cave system. In 2018, near the Yucatan Peninsula, one of the largest underwater caves was discovered, spanning 347 kilometers. According to Mexican underwater archaeologist Guillermo de Anda, this discovery became the most significant archaeological site in the world, primarily because a plethora of Mayan civilization artifacts were found within it. It is here that scientists found evidence of America's first settlers, information about ancient flora and fauna, as well as the culture and daily life of the ancient civilization. The artifact's age ranges between 10 to 12,000 years. Initially, archaeologists discovered 2 large caves, Sacactun and Dos Ojos. It was later determined that they were part of one continuous system. However, the cave has not yet been fully explored, and scientists believe it might also be connected to 3 other caves. In addition to the artifacts, researchers found numerous remains of ancient humans and animals. According to scientists' speculation, certain parts of the cave served as a kind of cemetery. The Mayans associated the afterlife with water, which might explain why they immersed the bodies of the deceased in water. Number 8. The Neptune Memorial Reef. I believe many of you have heard about the burial sites of mountaineers, such as the one near the Russian ski resort of Donbai. Those interred there are individuals who couldn't imagine their lives without the heights that ultimately claimed them. It turns out our planet also has a cemetery for divers. It is located 5 kilometers off the coast of Key Biscayne in Florida and is called the Neptune Memorial Reef. The cemetery was founded in 2007 by diver Gary Levine. Here rests the ashes of many deceased lovers of the seas and oceans. To prevent the water from eroding the remains, Gary devised a method to mix the ashes with cement, sand, and silicone. From this mixture, a unique figure is created. Each of these distinctive monuments with a nameplate becomes part of the landscape of underwater reefs. The memorial reef lies at a depth of 15 meters, and its creator plans to expand it to cover an area of 65,000 square meters. The first person to be buried here was diver Bert Kilbride, who was listed in the Guinness World Records as the oldest diver in the world. This idea proved to be very original and was well received by many diving enthusiasts. However, only their peers can pay their respects, as not many relatives would dare to dive to their graves. Number 7. The Underwater Waterfall Illusion. In the Indian Ocean, close to the island of Mauritius and the Lamorne-Brabant Peninsula, there is a place of striking beauty. Powerful water currents directed deep into the ocean look like a genuine underwater waterfall. Unfortunately, this fantastic phenomenon can only be witnessed from a bird's-eye view. Even the highest point in Lamorne doesn't provide such a perspective. Therefore, for tourists wishing to view the underwater waterfall, local airlines offer helicopter tours. This place appears magical, but how could a waterfall form inside the Indian Ocean? In reality, there's no waterfall, and it's all merely an optical illusion. This effect is achieved Due to the unique landscape of the ocean floor near the island, strong underwater currents and coral movements result in the motion of sand and silt. Whirlpools are created underwater due to this. The effect is intensified by the presence of a depression about 150 meters deep. Because of all these factors, a contrasting transition is noticeable from the light shallows to the darker depths from a bird's eye view, creating the illusion of a waterfall. Although the mystery of Mauritius has long been solved, this place continues to amaze many tourists. In addition to the waterfall illusion, visitors also marvel at how the water in the ocean changes its color from green to blue depending on the time of day. Number 6. The Northwest Passage and the Franklin Expedition. In our time, with the availability of accurate maps and navigators, it's hard to imagine that finding the shortest route used to be almost an unsolvable task. For example, attempts to find the shortest route from Europe to Asia took a long time. The first person to explore the Northwest Passage was the Italian explorer Sebastian Cabot in 1498. He tried to bypass America from the north, however. He encountered impassable ice and turned back. Many explorers wished to find the passage through the glaciers, but for several centuries these attempts were unsuccessful. John Franklin, an English sailor, also decided to explore the Northwest Passage in 1845. He led an expedition to discover this route. Still, his two ships, the Erebus and Terror, along with a crew of 129 people, disappeared without a trace. 5 years later, on a small islet called Beachy near Devon, traces of wintering and 3 sailors' graves from Franklin's crew were discovered. Local residents claimed they had seen a group of foreign people. Consequently, all members of the expedition were declared dead, and the search for them ceased. However, the ships were never found. Finally, in 2014, near King William Island at a depth of 11 meters, the Erebus was found. Its ship bell and one of its 10 cannons were lifted from the water to the surface. In 2016, the Terror was located in a bay near King William Island's coast. Despite its long submersion, the ship was beautifully preserved because the crew had meticulously closed all doors and windows. Detailed study of this discovery proved that despite their misfortune, the crew members managed to survive in harsh conditions for several years. Number 5. The recovery of Apollo 11's rocket engines. On July 16, 1969, a significant event occurred in world space exploration. NASA successfully launched and delivered the Apollo 11 spacecraft to the moon for the manned landing. The super heavy 3-stage Saturn V rocket was used. During the Apollo launch, the first stage was used, equipped with 5 powerful engines that were dropped into the Atlantic Ocean. For a long time they couldn't be found, but Amazon's founder Jeff Bezos decided to change that. Picture those 5 colossal giants, each one a masterpiece of combustion and force, tumbling end over end through the sky before plunging into the abyss like fallen meteors. For decades they lay in total darkness, buried under miles of water, while humanity walked on the moon and forgot about the fiery hearts that got them there. The ocean currents rolled over them, salt crept into every valve and bolt, and yet their massive bell-shaped nozzles still pointed upward, as if aiming for a launch that would never come. Then came Bezos's team, with submersibles and sonar, scanning the pitch-black floor mile by mile, until a ghostly outline emerged from the sediment. One engine, then another, then all 5, huddled together like sleeping titans. Raising them was a delicate, almost surgical operation, with robotic arms carefully lifting each 18,000-pound relic through the crushing pressure, fighting against time and corrosion. During a private expedition funded by the billionaire, at a depth of more than 4 kilometers, all 5 F1 oxygen kerosene engines from the first stage of the rocket were discovered. Each engine is of impressive size. Their width is 3.7 meters and height is 5.6 meters. The total thrust of all 5 F1s exceeded 34,000 kilonewtons. The current condition of the engines is still unknown. They fell to the ocean floor from an altitude of about 100 kilometers and were immersed in salt water for a long time. Number 4. Hydrothermal vents. In 1977, during a dive of the American deep-sea submersible Alvin to the east of the Galapagos Islands, unusual hydrothermal vents called black smokers were discovered. They are located at depths ranging from 2 to 5 kilometers in the oceans. The smokers themselves resemble pipes several meters high, constantly emitting black smoke. From these sources, water of an extremely high temperature, up to 400 degrees Celsius, erupts. However, the water does not boil because under these conditions, the distinction between the liquid and gaseous states disappears, making it supercritical. The black color of the emission is due to the admixture of sulfides and phosphates. When the hot water is expelled into the ocean and comes into contact with the cold surrounding temperature, there's a release of iron, copper, and nickel sulfide. Black smokers play a crucial role in sustaining life in deep-sea areas unreachable by sunlight. They can rightfully be called the oases of the underwater world. At the top of the vents, where temperatures reach 200 to 300 degrees, there's no life. However, just below that, at temperatures of around 100 degrees, bacteria thrive, forming unique mats spanning several square meters. Further down, where spring temperatures don't exceed 80 degrees, Pompeii worms reside. It's noteworthy that they are the only animals on Earth capable of surviving at such high temperatures. Descending further from the vent's peak, one can find Rhyphia petiptula, another type of worm. They attach themselves to the surface of the smokers, dangling their blood-red tentacles. The length of these worms can exceed 2 meters. Even lower, the tubes are populated by bivalve mollusks, 30 to 40 centimeters in length. There, one can also find white crabs and various types of shrimp. At the base of the vents dwell deep-sea predators, octopuses, and Cerberus fish. Black smokers show us that life can evolve, and living organisms can adapt even to conditions where one might assume there would be a complete void. Number 3. The Underwater Museum. In the Caribbean Sea near the city of Cancun lies the imaginative underwater museum Musa. Here, at depths ranging from 3 to 6 meters, over 500 various sculptures have been installed, made from a special type of concrete that is resistant to water and environmentally friendly. The total area of this underwater art haven covers 420 square meters. The museum commenced its operations in 2010. Its creators were Dr. Jamie Gonzalez Cano, Roberto Diaz Abraham, and the British artist Jason Taylor. Imagine descending into that turquoise silence, where sunlight fractures through the waves and casts dancing shadows over a silent crowd of human figures frozen in time. Each statue, from a lone woman gazing upward to a circle of children holding hands, seems to hold its own breath, waiting for a passing fish to brush against its stone cheek. Over the years, living coral has begun to bloom across their shoulders and fingertips, turning these rigid forms into slow-growing gardens of pink and orange, as if the sea itself is reclaiming them piece by piece. Some visitors swear they feel a strange pulse beneath the water, not from currents, but from the collective stillness of so many watching faces, rooted yet alive with barnacles and anemones. Drifting between them, you might glimpse a turtle nuzzle a sculpted ear, or a school of silver minnows swirl through an open palm, as though the art were always meant to be part of this underwater ecosystem. The project's authors aim not just to astonish the world with such an unusual museum, their primary goal was environmental protection. With this artificial reef, they intended to divert tourists' attention from damaging the real one, and they succeeded, attracting around 350,000 tourists annually. The museum is divided into 2 parts. The first can be visited on a special boat with a glass bottom. To view the exhibits of the second part, one must dive to the bottom. Number 2. The Jacuzzi of Despair. If someone told you there was a real lake at the bottom of the sea, you'd surely consider it absurd. But such lakes do exist on our planet. In 2014, at the bottom of the Gulf of Mexico, scientists discovered a basin filled with dense, incredibly salty water. The lake's water and the surrounding sea do not mix due to their density differences, so a clear shoreline can be seen around this saltwater body. Scientists named this lake the Jacuzzi of Despair. The pool is filled with methane and hydrogen sulfide, bubbles of which rise and bubble as if in a jacuzzi. Despite its allure, this place is very dangerous, and its poisonous water kills any living thing that accidentally enters the lake. The Jacuzzi of Despair is not the only underwater lake. Such water bodies are prevalent in the Gulf of Mexico. During the Jurassic period, this location was shallow and cut off from the ocean. Over time, the Gulf dried up, and in some places, salt blocks formed reaching up to 8 kilometers in thickness. When the Gulf of Mexico refilled with water, layers of salt began to be covered by very heavy bottom sediments, resulting in cracks and pits filled with monstrously salty solutions. These areas became known as salt lakes. The diameters of these underwater bodies can range from 1 meter to 20 kilometers. The Jacuzzi of Despair in particular has a diameter of 30 meters and a depth of about 4 meters. The temperature of its water reaches 18 degrees Celsius. On the shores of this place live giant corals with symbiotic bacteria, small crustaceans, and tube worms. All these creatures have adapted to life in extreme conditions near the toxic lake, and that's incredibly amazing. Number 1. The predatory tunicate. At extreme depths in the oceans, there are many living creatures whose existence is hard to believe, even when you see them with your own eyes. One such underwater inhabitant is the predatory tunicate, or Megalodocopia. This animal looks very unusual and resembles a mushroom on a thin stalk. Its cap, or head, is the main part, which is the mouth. Unlike other deep-sea dwellers, the tunicate stopped feeding through water filtration, and one could say, evolved. One of its siphons developed into a huge mouth reminiscent of the trap of a Venus flytrap. Small crustaceans and zooplankton fall into it like a trap. Surprisingly, these seemingly primitive creatures are very close to humans. The thing is, tunicates are chordates, meaning they have a skeleton. Moreover, during the larval stage, Tunicates have a brain. It is probably necessary for them to find a place to attach. After that, Megalodicopia gets rid of its brain. How it does so remains unknown to scientists. What's more, tunicates are hermaphrodites. In the absence of a partner, they reproduce independently. And another fact, Megalodicopia can fully regenerate its body from a piece of its torso in just 2 weeks. The predatory tunicate is just one example of how unique the deep-sea world is. Thanks for watching, and see you in the next video.